Good morning, class. Yesterday we had discussed the start of Russian Revolution, and prior to Russian Revolution time, that is 3 years back, we discussed the Russian Empire in 1914. It was of you can say with a different kind of religion, and the country at present which are in Central Asian country, they were the part of that empire. So let's begin the next segment of the chapter, that is economy and society. At the beginning of the 20th century, the vast majority of Russian people were agriculturalists. Okay, this is the time period when every country, because industrialization was not up to the high level, and most of the country were engaged in the primary activities in the world. So 85% of the Russian empire population earned their living from agriculture. This proportion was higher than in most European countries. And for instance, France and Germany, the proportion was between 40 to 50%. Now you see, in Russia, it was 85% people were in agriculture, and in France, then 40 to 50%. So, in the empire, cultivators produced for the market as well as for their own needs. Russia was major exporter of grain. Industry was found in pockets, and predominant industrial areas were St. Petersburg and Moscow. Craftsmen undertook much of the production, but large factories existed alongside craft workshops. Hope you understood. In empire, cultivators product markets were as well as their own needs, and Russia was a major exporter of grain. Here we understand Russia was a major exporter of grain because 85% of agriculture was taking place there. So industries found in pockets. The place of industries was limited, and prominent industrialist area were St. Petersburg. If the industries were lying in only the limited places, that is the St. Petersburg and Moscow, the two places. And craftsmen, the people who used to work with the hand, undertook much of the production. Means most of the people used to work there, and but large factories existed alongside of the workshops. Means most of the work got done by the hand, and the factories were limited, and rest of the work was done in the factories. Here I want to tell you about this because this was the period when industries were there and machines were not used by the people or the industrialist. Why? The reason behind, they were scary about, because engineers were not there and the skilled people were not there who could repair that if they got damaged. So many factories were set up in 1890s. The Russian railways network were extended. We know that whenever the establishment of factories took place, so what happened? The urbanization took place. The railways, roadways, you can say embankment, and cities, colonies were setting up. So extension of railways and cities, you can say, was extended up. Foreign investment in industries increased. People were investing the money over the industries. Coal production doubled and iron and steel output quadrupled. मतलब अगर coal production double हुआ तो iron and steel का 4 गुना बढ़ा. मतलब जो चीज़ें अभी बहुत limited थी, they were progressive now. But the 1900, in some areas, factory workers and craftsmen were almost equal in number. So we can say in 1900 till the beginning of the 20th century, some areas of factory workers, craftsmen were almost equal in number. When we talk about the workers who working in the factory, and when we talk about the craftsmen, they were in equal number. So most industries was in private property, as because in the beginning we have discussed that there was the fight only that some factories were in a limited number of hands. So private property were industrialists, means there were limited industrialists. Government supervised large factories to ensure minimum wages and limited hours of work. But factories inspectors could not prevent the rules being broken. I think you must understand, government supervised large factories to ensure minimum wages. Minimum wages, that they should provide minimum and limited hours of work, and but the factories inspector could not prevent. मीन्स गवर्नमेंट ने तो कुछ रूल्स बनाए थे, लेकिन क्या हुआ, जो उनके इंस्पेक्टर्स थे, दे कुड नॉट प्रिवेंट रूल्स, वो उन रूल को रोक नहीं पाते थे बीइंग ब्रोकन. मीन्स दे ऑलवेज broken the rule regulation, and they tortured the workers, and they did not follow the rule regulation made by the government, who the individual industrialist. In craft units and small workshop, the working days was sometime 15 hours. As it was very much pathetic that 15 hours work was taken by the labor, and compared with 10 to 12 hours in the factories. 12 to 12 आवर इन फैक्ट्रीज में अगर था, तो ये यहाँ पर कितना काम कराते थे, 15 hours. Accommodations varied from rooms to dormitories. Accommodation where the workers were working, it was very much different. Dormitories were there in which the labor used to sit and used to do their work. Workers were a divided social group. Some had strong links with the villages and from which they came. Other had settled in cities permanently. Workers were divided by skill. There was division of workers by the skill. They were divided, as it used to happen, and it also happens today, even based on skill. Means fully skilled people, then semi skilled, unskilled, like all. So the metal worker of Pittsburgh recalled the metal workers and considered themselves aristocrat. Means the people who were for the take care of metal work, like to supervise the machine and all kind of supervision. So they were called aristocrats, and among other workers, their occupations demanded more training and skill. So they were kind of engineer like. So women made up 31% of the factory labor force by 1914. Means until 1914, 31% population of women was working in factories, but they were paid less than men, as it happens in many society today even. Between half and 3/4 of man wages. You can understand, या तो जितना सपोज करिए मेल इज अर्निंग 100 रुपीज, तो उनको 50 मिलेगा, 40 मिलेगा, 30 मिलेगा, like all used to get. So 3/4 of man wages and division among the workers showed themselves in dress, and how they were recognized discrimination wise, that on the basis of uniform. On the basis of uniform and manners too, means how sophisticated they are. The language in Russian and French Revolution, you have seen, maybe this kind of culture was developing there in the countries. So this was noticeable point that there was a lots of discrimination, and society was divided among like the people. And some workers formed association of members in times of unemployment or financial hardship, but such associations were few. It is not means like we cannot say that there was not association. They were there, associations were there, grouping were there, trade union were there, but they were hiddenly formed. Openly people could not form them. Despite divisions, workers did unite to strike work, stop work when they disagree with employers, but dismissal or the work condition. These strikes took place frequently in the textile industries during 1860, 1906 और 1907. ऐसा नहीं होता था कि ये कभी ना होता भी था तो ये frequently होता था. How? And the metal industries during 1912 in the countryside, the peasants cultivate means this was happening about the factories, in the factories, but in the countryside, when we talk about the villages, the peasants cultivated most of the land, but nobility and the crown means the king, an orthodox church owned the large properties. Same kind of thing was happening as it was in France. If you remember the French Revolution, the same kind of thing was taking place there even. Like the workers, peasants too were divided. They were also deeply religious. They were also deeply religious, and but except in a few cases, they had no respect for the nobility. Nobles got their power and position through their services to the Tsar, not through the local popularity. It happens. You can see because nobles were the people of Tsar or the king. So they don't have their own image, and they were not liked by the common people. They were hated by them. This was unlike the France, where during the French Revolution in Brittany, peasants respected nobles and fought for them. ठीक है, वहां पर हमने देखा था क्या, नोबल्स ही तो थे जिन्होंने उनके लिए लड़ाई करी. कौन नोबल था? मेरोबियो एंड एबेसिस, इफ यू have idea about. So they were respected there, but these nobles were not at least respected in this society. So peasants respected nobles and fought for them. In Russia, peasants wanted the land of the nobles to be given to them. Frequently, they refused to pay the rent and even murdered landlords. तो यहाँ तक होता था, अगर वो उनको मना कर देंगे, they were you can say denying to pay the taxes. Sometimes they murdered the landlord. So in 1902, this occurred on a large scale in South Russia, and in 1905, incidents took place all over Russia. So such kind of incidents regularly taking place in Russia, means because of tax collection, because of torture, because of atrocities, it was taking place in Russia time and again. The Russian peasants were different from other European peasants. In other way, they pooled their land together periodically, and their commune, that is mir called at that time, divided according to the needs of individual families. So another strange, or you can say unique thing was happening there in Russia. Russian peasants were different from other European. वो दूसरे लोगों से बड़े हटके थे. कैसे? कि वो क्या करते थे, पूल्ड करते थे अपनी लैंड को पूल करने का मतलब है कलेक्टिवली दे यूज टू कल्टीवेट द लैंड. मतलब पीरियोडिकली भी, आज हमने आपके खेत पे काम कर दिया, कल आप हमारे पे करोगे, इस तरीके से. और इसको क्या बोलते थे? कम्यून बोला जाता था. कम्यून का मतलब हुआ दैट इज मीर, एंड डिवाइडेड अकॉर्डिंग टू द नीड्स ऑफ इंडिविजुअल फैमिली. और जितना भी उनका प्रोडक्शन आता था, प्रॉफिट होता था, इट वाज डिवाइडेड अकॉर्डिंग टू द नीड ऑफ द फैमिली. So this was the culture which was unique in Russia. So in this segment, particularly what we have read, we have to revise quickly that economy and society was kind of that percentage. If we say 80% was the population based on agriculture, and comparatively France and other country, that is 40 to 50%, and factories were in the pockets of only in the hand of you can say Pittsburgh and Moscow. And in the factories, the condition was not good of workers. 15 hours regularly they used to work. Women were getting only you can say 50% of wages, and the proportion was of 31%. And the union, or you can say there were again the association used to take place there. And peasants, you can say, did not respect the nobles. So many points are here to discuss, so take the revision carefully so that you can take out many points. And now I suggest you, if you people are regularly watching the videos, so this particular segment, now in future I'll change some techniques like this much. If you have read, so at least 10 to 15 MCQs you can take out. So this will be very, very, you can say, good for you. Okay. Thank you. Have a nice day.